America is becoming a nation of renters. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Hamza, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about why I invest in real estate. Somebody recently asked me this question. Hamza, why do you invest in real estate? And to that, my answer was, America is becoming a nation of renters. And that is why I invest in real estate. I truly believe that investing in real estate is a hedge against inflation, fiat currency, but at the same time, I truly also believe that real estate is only going to go up in demand as this country becomes a nation of growing renters. And the funny thing is, I'm an immigrant. I moved to this country about 6 years ago, and I immediately started investing in real estate. The bulk of my wealth I actually created in real estate in the multifamily space. And it was solely because I identified two things. The first thing was that Houston was a massively undervalued market at the time, which lucky for me, I was correct. Houston was a massively undervalued city as most people thought it's heavily dependent on oil and gas. Now that is partially true, so I know you guys are going to type in the comments, yes, Houston, Texas is still massively dependent on oil and gas. You are right. But did you know that we have the largest medical center in the world? Google it. Largest medical center in the world is here in Houston, Texas. Did you also know that in the last 6 years, Houston, Texas has made it on every top 10 list as far as residential real estate? In fact, in 2019, Houston, Texas was the #1 city according to U-Haul's Net Migration Index. And what does that index track? It tracks one-way trips from all around the nation into specific cities. For 2019, that city was Houston, Texas. But enough about Houston, Texas. Let's talk about why I think real estate is an amazing investment even in today's market. I'm sure if you guys are watching this video, at some point in time, you guys considered investing in real estate and are just waiting to take action. Well, I have some good news for you. You guys are absolutely on the right track, and if you are truly motivated and you want to take action, stick around, and I think you'll learn a lot about real estate investing through me. Now, back to the topic of America is turning into a renter's nation. So America now is becoming more and more like the Middle East and like Europe, where more people are enjoying the luxuries of renting and don't want to be tied down to a home. I myself am a millennial, and I currently rent where I live and I own where I rent. I'm not a big fan of Grant Cardone, but I think that's where I heard this line first. So gotta give him credit. That was a great line, Grant. I also wanted to mention, if you guys are enjoying my video, please remember to smash that like button. It helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, and you would be supporting my YouTube channel. And it only takes a second. Literally a second. So America is becoming a renter's nation, with Gen Z not wanting to commit at all to anything at this point in life. In fact, all this autonomy and technology is going to impact Gen Z to never probably own anything ever. Everything is just going to be a subscription to them. I would go as far as saying that even millennials, such as myself, are afraid of commitment and being tied down to owning a home. We would rather have the convenience of living where the action is in the middle of the city than own a home in the burbs. Things like Spotify, Uber, Airbnb were created for conveniences and are basically living proof that people are moving more towards subscription business models. American people today want to be less tied down and have the freedom to move around, which is why I think owning real estate is great. I identified this trend very early on 6 years ago when I first moved to America, and I realized that people would rather have somebody else cut their yard, clean their pools, have a gym where they live, and other amenities. And for that, they would be willing to pay a price, even a premium in some locations. Which is why I'm a big fan of investing in residential and commercial real estate. I know we currently have leases for lending purposes to make sure that the deal underwrites and to guarantee that we are going to be able to pay loans when it comes to commercial real estate. But I still think that this model is a little flawed, which means we are going to move to a different model. Now, of course, if a tenant is coming into a place spending millions of dollars in redesign like a fancy restaurant in the Galleria area or somewhere in downtown, those people are going to want to sign 10-year leases. And that's totally understandable. I'm talking about the people who do not want to sign long-term leases and want to rent spaces out short-term, let's say yearly basis. And this is why I think residential real estate will always come out on top no matter what. I know a lot of you who follow me know that I'm a big fan of the office warehouse business space. I will tell you this, the office warehouse business space currently operates at 3 to 5 year lease terms. I'm probably one of the only people who signs 2-year term leases for these office warehouse spaces. And that's because I'm able to create enough demand through my marketing strategies to where if I have a tenant leave, I can easily get another tenant to replace them. Which is why I personally don't believe in long-term leases. Also, it's extremely rare for people to come into these office warehouses and spend a lot of money building them out. Usually, all they're looking for is a little bit of storage space with some office and a bathroom so that they can run their business. And that is why I'm actually moving from the multifamily space into the office warehouse space. But my reasons are completely different. For those of you starting out in real estate, I highly suggest considering buying either single-family residence or multifamily apartment communities. And the reason I say that is that there is always demand as people will always need a place to stay. And as time progresses and this country becomes more of a renter's nation, there will only be more demand for residential real estate, which will drive the rent prices up in desired neighborhoods. Now, I bet you guys are thinking that you're telling us to invest in residential real estate, but you are moving out of residential into office warehouse. So why is that? Why would you tell us to buy residential real estate and then you yourself invest in commercial office warehouse business parks? I started investing in residential real estate 6 years ago, created a private equity firm, created my first real estate fund that acquired over 1,000 units here in Houston, Texas, and then had a very successful exit on each one of those deals. Now I'm working my way towards automation. I am more interested in automating the entire real estate process. And the easiest asset class for me to be able to do that is, in fact, office warehouses. And the reason is there's not too much management involved and I can automate the entire process through proprietary technology that I myself have developed. And I'm able to manage these business parks with complete autonomy. That's right, no human interaction. And for me, that's a big deal. So in my business model, I'm actually more interested in the autonomy and technology part than I am in the actual real estate process. I am also investing in real estate as a huge hedge against the US dollar. Because as we see inflation and maybe even hyperinflation, depending on how much money the government prints, real estate will always hold its value and is an excellent hedge against inflation. This is something that not a lot of people talk about and not a lot of people take into consideration. Another reason why people actually prefer renting. So I talked about millennials, I talked about Gen Zs. Let me talk about boomers. Trend lines are currently showing that boomers are actually selling their homes and moving into apartment communities because they prefer the locations, they prefer the size, and they prefer the amenities. And when I say amenities, I'm talking pool, gym, spa, dog walking service, and many other services that these facilities provide. As boomers are now becoming empty nesters, they're realizing that they don't want to be in charge of that much real estate, in charge of that much space. They don't want to mow lawns. They don't want to clean such a big house. Which is why, once again, I think if you guys invest in the right places in residential real estate, you guys will do fairly well. Even boomers, who were people who worked one job for 40 years, stayed in the same house for a very long time, are now getting rid of that mentality and mindset and moving into apartment communities with great amenities. For the boomers, I've come to realize that location is important, but amenities is really what makes the big difference. I actually have a few friends currently who are my age, so they're millennials, and they live in Airbnbs all throughout the year because they enjoy the freedom and they also want change multiple times a year. And I find that absolutely fascinating. If I told you guys you could live in a different furnished apartment every week, like just 5 years ago, a lot of you wouldn't believe me. But today, thanks to Airbnb, thanks to VRBO, there's a lot of hosts who have become super hosts because they offer exactly that. Airbnb is such a success that they are now going after boomers. They actually set up something called Airbnb Plus, which is a little higher end because they've identified that boomers have a little more money to spend and they would like to live in classier areas. So the point of this video is to explain why real estate is great. It's a hedge against inflation, it's a fixed asset, you can get safe debt on real estate, but is also to tell you guys that every trend right now is saying that we are growing to become a renter nation. Which means over time, in the long run, there's going to be a huge demand for rental properties. So if you guys are considering starting investing in real estate, You can't go wrong with single family and multi-family properties. I talk a lot about using the 3-2-1 strategy when investing in single family homes, as those are the properties that are the safest and have the highest demand. And if you don't know what 3-2-1 properties are, I am going to put a link somewhere here in the video. Once again, my name is Hamza, and I'll see you guys next video.